What's going on, guys? Today our project on my 1992 Dodge W250 is to replace all the shocks, the fronts and the rears. We got some brand new Bilstein shock absorbers for the front and the rears. These are for the front and these are the rear shocks. And here are their respective part numbers. I labeled these rear and then the fronts. I got these part numbers off of Geno's garage. I didn't get the parts themselves off of Geno's garage, got them cheaper somewhere else. But as you can see, they have these listed, the part numbers for the rears and the fronts for 89 and 93, 4-wheel drive with 0 to 2 inches of lift. So those should work. Okay, here's the current rear shocks. We're going to show you how you can test your shocks on the vehicle by just taking off the lower portion of the shock and pushing up on it. Alright, so in order to remove the lower part of the shock, we're using a 3/4 inch socket. And here's just a quick test we can do, is just push up on it. And if you push up on it and it's really easy to push up on, and comes back sluggishly or even stays there, that's a good sign that you're going to need some new shocks. So let's test it. I'm going to test this one hand. I can push it up easily and let go, and look, it's barely coming back. So that's a sign right there that you need some new shocks. Okay, in order to get the rear shocks undone at the top, same size socket, it's a bolt and a nut sandwiched between these pieces of metal here. Okay, now we're going to take the other side off. Alright, check out these old shocks. Nothing. Okay, here's a quick comparison of the old shocks to the new Bilsteins. As you can see, much harder to compress. And now watch the rebound. Alright, so the new shocks come with a set of sleeves for the bottoms and tops. But the tops are only going to need them. As you can see, we have the old bolt for the top. It fits inside the sleeve here. And then the sleeve will fit inside the top of the shock, inside the rubber part there. And then for the bottoms, if we take an old sleeve, you can see that we're not going to need to put sleeves on the bottoms of the shocks, because there's sleeves already on there of the same diameter. So we'll just have to pop the bottom of the shock over that and then put the nut back on. Alright, we're just pressing in the new steel bushings with the help of the vise. There we go. Okay, so we're putting on the top side of the shock first. I'm going to get the nut on there snug, and then we'll put the bottom on, and then we'll tighten up both the top and the bottom after. So I have to compress this guy and get it up on the stud. Okay, so we're having a hard time getting the bottom side on, so we used this large Irwin clamp to grip it from the other side of the axle. So pushing up on the shock while clamping it in, we could get it to enough so the threads were showing, and then we could thread the rest on. here's the new shocks installed on the rear. That's what they look like. Alright, so we're moving up to the front shocks now. In order to take these shocks off, we have the same size as the rear, 3/4 inch socket on this side of the shock, and then on this side of the shock we have this big nut, and the only size that we have that'll fit that is a 28 millimeter, and it fits pretty snug on there. So we're going to use 28 millimeter to get that guy off, and then we'll be able to slip this right off. So now that that nut's off, we can just go ahead and slide this right out of here. And then we're going to have to take this stud out of the bottom part of the shock so we can put it on the new one. Alright, so I'm going to use a breaker bar to get the top side undone. Same size, 3/4 inch socket. There we go. Alright, here's the old front shock. No rebound on that. Here's the old shock. Okay, so the new front shocks, it seems that the new bushings on the bottoms and the tops for the sleeves that are on the truck, this is the bolt for the bottom, will be a pretty tight fit, but I've read online that they will fit with a little bit of convincing, so we'll just have to press in the bottoms while they're out of the truck, and then the tops we're just going to have to work in with a hammer somehow. So we'll get in the bottoms first. Right, so in order to get this stud into the bottom of the shock, we're just lubing up both surfaces with some white lithium grease and the stud as well. And we're going to take it over to the vise and then press it in with the vise. So we're going to have to press it in with the, just without the socket first, because our jaws don't open that far. There we go. Right, and a little bit, and then we'll put the socket on. Now press it in. Easy as that. Alright, so in order to get the top side of the shock on the front, we're using a 6-inch C-clamp as well as a 27 millimeter socket over the top of the shock. And then we can tighten down the C-clamp and it'll press onto the current sleeve on the truck. Alright, so that worked out pretty well with that clamp. The top side's on, and then we can go ahead and tighten up, put in the bottom side as well as the top. Alright, so just noting the key placement of the stud and the nuts. The stud slides in from this side into this thick plate on the axle, and the big nut goes in from the other side. And then on the other side of the shock, the plate and smaller nut goes on this side and tightens all down. Alright, here's the front shocks installed. Passenger side. driver's side. Now all we have to do is just go for a little test drive and see how they work compared to the old ones. I hope this video helps, and thanks for watching. I'll post in the comments about how it rides so you can know.